Hi everybody and welcome back to Time to Go. In today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be looking at the Glycine Airman 18. This is a GMT watch, and the Airmans have been very popular with pilots for quite a few years, so I thought what better opportunity than to take advantage of my brother's pilot's license and also a friend of his. We're going to be taking this video up in the air, and then afterwards we'll take a closer look at the watch. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed coming along for my day at the airport. The flight in the intro, by the way, was piloted by my brother Dave in his plane. Earlier that day, though, I went up in a really cool plane called a long-eze. This was piloted by a friend of my brother's named Tim, so big thanks to both Dave and Tim, and you can see some footage from my flight with Tim at the end of the video, so make sure you check that out. So let's spin the camera around and we'll take a closer look at the Glycine. Okay guys, so normally I start off a lot of my reviews by going through some of the packaging and what comes with the watch itself. I've recently done an unboxing and I covered most of that then, so I'll leave a link to my unboxing video of the Glycine below. So I'm just going to start off by going through some of the measurements and specifications on the watch. So as far as the case dimensions go, we are looking at a 39mm case width. Lug to lug is 46.5 millimeters. We have a nice 20mm lug width, which gives you lots of strap options, and the case thickness is right in around 10.5 millimeters. So we have a sapphire crystal on top, as well as a crystal on the display case back, which I believe is a mineral crystal. The water resistance is a very impressive 200 meters, which is really nice for a non-dive watch. And this bad boy is housing the GL293, which is an ETA 2093 movement. So there is a ton of information packed into this thing. So I'm going to try to walk you through what we're looking at here on the dial as best as I can. So first up, there is a really cool color choice that they've made for the dial. The dial fades from black at the top during the evening and early morning hours to blue during daylight hours. I love that the dial color actually has a use, and I think it looks awesome. Now we have some text here at the top portion of the dial. It says Glycine Airman with the Glycine logo. Below we have automatic world timer, 200 meters, and at 3 o'clock we have the date window in white. Now, other than the red tipped GMT hand, the rest of the hands function as a typical watch with the hour, minute, and seconds. Now, although the dial has 24-hour markings, the hour hand does a revolution once per 12 hours. It's a little confusing at first, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to tell your local time using the Luminous hour markers. And I'm actually going to throw up a loom shot right now of this watch for you guys to check out. And as you can see here, the loom is not bad. The hour markers are just a little bit fainter, and they do tend to fade a little quicker than the hands, but overall I'm pretty impressed. Opposed to the local hour hand, the GMT hand that is red tipped you see here makes a revolution around the dial every 24 hours. So currently we are right around 5 o'clock, just after 5 o'clock local time. I have my GMT hand set to GMT time, which is 4 hours ahead of me. That is 9 o'clock or 2100 hours. I'll show you how to set the times on this in just a second here. Before I do that though, as you can see on the bezel, we have 24-hour markers. This is for a third time zone. Now, I have mine set to my parents' time, which is 3 hours behind GMT, or currently we're at just after 1800 hours or 6 p.m. Now, as far as adjusting the bezel, Glycine has a really simple but neat bezel locking system. To unlock the bezel, you unscrew the crown here at the 4 o'clock position. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to make it out, but there is a little piece of metal under the crown here that has teeth that grab the bezel, holding it in place. It's a bi-directional bezel, has a very solid feel, and there's next to no back play at all in it. So for anybody unfamiliar with the ETA 2893, I'm just going to give you guys a quick walkthrough on how to set both your local time as well as the second and third time zone. So the crown here on the Glycine is a screw down crown, and once unscrewed we are in hand winding position, and this thing is absolute butter to wind. Now if we pull the crown out to the last position, we can set our time just like you would any other watch, and what I'll do is I'll advance it to 11 p.m. Now to adjust the GMT hand, we go out to the first position. If we rotate the crown counterclockwise, we can adjust the date, and if we rotate it clockwise, we can adjust the GMT hand. So I'm going to put it back to 3 a.m., which is GMT time compared to my local time zone. So we are at 3 a.m. now in GMT time. So to set the second or the third time zone, what we'll do is we'll use Paris as an example. So Paris is 2 hours ahead of GMT time. So if we just roll back 2 hours, we are at 5 a.m. in Paris. So currently we are at 11 p.m. local time. GMT time is 3 a.m. and in Paris we are at 5 a.m. So hopefully that is clear enough for you guys. It took a while to get used to be honest, but once you get the hang of it, it's not so bad. And again, there is a lot of information that is packed into this thing, so you do have to expect to have a bit of a learning curve when it comes to using this watch. As far as the finish on the Airman here, both the bezel as well as the tops of the lugs are very finely brushed. The case is completely polished other than that. It has a really cool rounded design and angles sharply down towards the case back here on the bottom of the case, and that along with these kind of longer curved lugs makes it sit really nicely on the wrist. On the other side of the case here, you'll see we have two crowns. They are both polished. The bezel locking crown here at the 4 o'clock position is signed with the Glycine logo, while the main crown has this kind of a grid pattern etched onto it. Now on the back, we do have a display case back, the only decorating being the rotor, which is quite nicely decorated, and as you can see here, there's a really cool image of a plane that they have etched on that. The rest of the movement isn't particularly decorated other than some really well done brushwork. The last thing that I'd like to touch on here is the strap that comes with this particular Airman. So it is a beautiful blue alligator print leather. I just love the look of it. It goes great with the overall look of this watch. You'll see here on the first keeper, it is embossed with the Glycine logo. The quality is there. It feels like a very high quality strap. The buckle and tang are quite large, and they are brushed to the same finish as both the lugs and the bezel. You can see here it's also signed Glycine. Really happy with the strap. It just has a great feel, feels great on wrist. So let me actually pop it on wrist for a second for you guys. Okay, so I think this thing looks absolutely awesome on wrist. I just love that blue to black dial. If I flip my wrist over, you see what I mean by the larger size buckle. It might have been harder to tell earlier on. Now, for me, I think this watch makes for an excellent travel watch. Not only are the multiple time zones handy, but if this was on a rubber or a NATO strap with its 200-meter water resistance, it'd be perfect for the beach or pool. The one downside I can see some people may have is the busyness of the dial. So for me, I like clean dial watches as well as watches with busier dials. I find that there's just a lot to look at, and I really love that in a watch that has so much going on. So that's going to be it for today's video. Let's spin the camera around and we'll wrap this up. All right, so thanks so much for taking your time to stop by the channel again. As usual, it is always appreciated, and don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video where I have some more footage from my day at the airport, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.